Hello.
Hello.
I'm Dee, this is Pete. We've got an hour of balance together, our Yin Yoga practice. So we're going to start in Shavasana or Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of feet together, knees out wide. So you choose which you prefer to lie in. If you would prefer to lie in Supta Baddha and you have some weight bags, then grab those, place them on your hips or on your legs. You can intensify this practice as much as you'd like to. You can pull right back. There's no right or wrong. Remember that. Do what you need to do. Add to the practice, you're at home. So if you've got lots of props around you, if you want to add myofascial release in poses, if you want to take things away, if you want to mix it up, change it up a little bit, just really allow this practice for yourself. Do whatever you need to do. I've got a beautiful setup at home where I've got everything in hand's reach, and so it's awesome to be able to just guide myself organically with the practice, with these classes, but to also add things or change things up a little bit, swap them around, especially for those of us that are experienced in our practice. If you're newer to the balance practice, then just follow along. You'll learn as you go. You'll learn the different postures and the different things that we do that you can add or take away. And the beauty of this practice, the quietness of the Yin practice, is that it gives your body an opportunity to be heard. You start to notice, where you're starting to feel a bit of tension or where there's a part in the body that feels a bit blocked. And naturally and organically, the more that you practice yoga, the more you're able to master yourself. And so on a physical realm, you're able to notice what needs a bit of attention. That happens mentally and spiritually as well. And so for these first few moments of practice, just allow yourself to be here. Whatever distractions you've got at home, any to-do lists for your day today, just see if you can leave them at the door. We'll call it the magic doors. Leave the external world at the magic doors. Enter the internal world. The world of self-mastery. It's not an easy practice. We could say that any yoga practice, but especially the balance, the quiet, slow Yin practice, you could say, it's really easy. Just lay there in some stretches. But actually, when you really do the mastery work, the balance practice highlights a lot more because there's a lot more space. And so if the mind doesn't like space, the mind definitely likes to be distracted. It's going to be very loud and you're going to fidget a lot when the mind's distracted. To really master this practice, we have to not only be willing to step into that stillness, that space, but we have to be ready. And so notice these last few breaths. Notice just where you're at today. Maybe you're willing to step into that space, but are you ready? Has the prep work been done? And if you notice your mind is really distracted today, or at any part throughout the practice, breath is your anchor. Ujjayi breaths, in through the nose, out through the nose, slight restriction in the back of the throat. Master the fundamentals. And then with those fundamentals, that's what gains us readiness to be able to move forward on the path of self-mastery. Without the fundamentals, no mastery. Without being ready, we're not able to take the step. Follow these last 3 breaths. I'm going to give you an option, and it'll depend on your body. And it'll depend on where you're at with your practice as to which option you take for this next pose. So due to Pete's knee limitation, he's just going to come up and do Janu Sirsasana. So keeping the bolster where it is. If you've got your bolster anywhere else, bring it underneath your left knee. So your left leg's going to go out long and your right heel's going to come in towards your groin. So that's option 1. Lean over. Pete's got issues with bending his right knee, so it's not going to be bent overly, but the focus is going to be on this left leg for you just to kind of lean over it. For those of you who are a little bit more experienced, if you like, or a bit more open in hips and knees, we're going to shift this right knee the other way around. So you're going to bring it, make sure that the ankle joint's open, so you're in a half heroes, leaning forward over that left leg. You can utilise your arms to rest your forehead on, cross your forearms, rest your forehead there. You can just fold over that right leg. You can use other props, blocks, blankets, pillows, whatever you can sort of gain from around you. If you have a weight bag, you can place that on the back of the shoulders, you can place it on the leg, either leg. There's no right or wrong. Just choose which way you want to experience this pose and then dive in. Path of self-mastery is really challenging, quite confronting, and also can be very uncomfortable. And so if we don't build foundations, we're not going to last. We're going to fall off the bandwagon or whatever they call it. Because when we get challenged, whether it's by someone or something, our little egos have this habit of running away, not wanting to deal with it. Self-mastery, we have to deal with a lot of ourselves. We have to dig into the dark depths of our consciousness, our character, our personality, our actions and reactions. Yoga teaches us to question everything, to inquire is probably a better way to word it. Inquire about everything. We've got 3 more breaths. Now this is going to take us into our half heroes pose. So your left leg and your right leg is pretty much going to stay where it is. Pete's going to do something a little bit different because he has issues with his right knee. So if you have any issues with where we're headed, then take Pete's option. Laying on your left side, use a strap to lasso your foot. So everything can stay as is. All we're going to do is lean back into a Supta half Virasana. So right leg stays as is. If you didn't take this version, if you've taken the Janu version, then flip the right leg around. Make sure the ankle joint is open. You're not flexing your foot because you'll put too much pressure in the rotation of the knee. It's dangerous. So then you come back onto your hands, is for most of us, elbows, or if you've got the range, lie down, close your eyes, breathe. If you're laying on your left side, it's a quad stretch. And so Pete can't bend his knee up enough to hold it with his hands, so he uses a prop. You can use a towel, you can use a strap, or you can just grab your right foot, relax on your left side, draw your heel to your bottom, and make sure you're feeling a stretch through the front of that right leg, even if it's just a little stretch. I've been reading the Yoga Vasishtha, which is a tough read. And if you're new to yogic texts and the yogic tradition, I wouldn't recommend it to start with. It's a few years worth of development for myself. But ultimately what the teachings are about is mastery of self. And sage Vasishtha talks about 4 gates to enlightenment. And one gate is self-control, which is all about sensory desires of the worldly kind, controlling them and directing them. Another gate is contentment, a really powerful one, where we see contentment in every aspect of our lives, regardless of the situation that we're in. And another one is the spirit of inquiry, the spirit of self-inquiry. So constantly inquiring, constantly working towards self-mastery. The 4th is spiritual friendship, is mentorship. Self-mastery takes lots of tools, lots of teachings. It's not something that you can just wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to master myself today. It's a lifelong practice. It's challenging, it's confronting, it's uncomfortable. Undoing old ways, old patterns. Seeing ourselves very clearly and very honestly. Every pose that we do gives us the opportunity to see, to observe, to watch and witness. to help us gain insights towards our path of self-mastery. So you've got 5 more breaths. Do those 2 pose options for the other side. So very slowly help yourself up and out. The right leg's just going to come over the bolster. Left leg's either going to come to your groin, heel to groin, for genou, where you just lean over that right leg, or take the option of flipping the left leg around, making sure the ankle joint stays open so your knee is safer, and then you lean over that right leg. What that looks like for you, completely up to you. Find the right place for you, sink in, and then dive in. Dive into that practice. Fundamentals first. Leaving the outside world where it is, magic doors. Turning in. Noticing if you're distracted. And if you are, focusing on breath. If you're not, really diving in and noticing. Noticing how you are in the pose mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Notice any clinging or any aversions. Initially, we quieten the mind to hear the body. Eventually, we then quieten the body to hear the soul. Five more breaths. if you took the genou, heel to groin, then flip the heel around for our half heroes, which is a quad stretch. Lean back onto your hands, onto your elbows. If you've got the range, all the way onto your back. If you can't bend your knee that way, then you're gonna lay on your right side. Left hand will reach around and grab your foot. If you can't grab your foot, use a prop. So a strap, a towel, anything you like to draw the heel towards your glute. Lay down, close your eyes. A spirit of inquiry. Notice yourself moving off into distractions or the external world outside the magic glass doors or the magic doors. When you notice that, bring yourself back, because the mastery happens here internally. Breaths. This is going to take us back into just a short Shavasana, but make sure the bolster's underneath your knees, because we're going to utilize that from there in a moment. So unravel yourself, bring both legs over your bolster, doesn't matter what it looks like. Just lay flat. We're constantly living, minds living in the outside world, outside those magic doors. We get tossed and turned. There's no control out there. The ego clings, it runs away. The desires are endless, the sensory desires. Why the practice of yoga is a spiritual practice, and the spirit is within. You come into a supported bridge, so use your heels to bring your bolster right up to your butt, and then lift your hips, pushing your feet into the floor. Use your hands to bring the bolster underneath your butt. So the bolster supporting your hips, legs long is the full version. If you need to bend your knees up a little bit or a lot, then do that. Just lay the front of your hips. It's more about the front of the hips than it is about the extension through the back. So the front of your hips just kind of splayed open. You can stay as you are, or you can hug your right knee into your chest. I like to bring my hands behind that right thigh, sort of in front of the knee, or behind the knee as well, but just to loop the hands and then draw the knee in. You'll feel the left hip flex up, stretch out just a fraction more. It might be subtle for some of us, it might be intense for others. Self-mastery doesn't happen when we're in a state of distraction. So fundamentals are necessary and key. Yoga is a very strategic discipline, science practice. When you notice yourself being distracted by the external worldly objects and senses, draw your focus in, your attention into breath, into body. The more we can cultivate that mind that's ready. You might be willing, but are you ready? You have to cultivate a ready mind first.
And then we can start to really unpack the depths of ourselves for self-mastery. Bring old habits, distraction, sensory desires, then we're not ready. If you hugged your right knee in, let it go long. Very gently, very slowly, once that right leg is extended out, then draw the left leg in. No, for lack of a better analogy, but a simple way of sort of understanding self-mastery is that we can sort of liken it to, wanting to lose weight. You might be willing, you might have this desire, this want to lose a couple of kilos, but you might not be ready to commit to the requirements needed, necessary to lose those kilos. It takes a lot of commitment to change old habit patterns, to be able, especially, if you just want to lose those last few kilos, you plateau off and you get bored or you get distracted. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of effort to lose those last few kilos, or to lose weight in general for a lot of us. The same goes with this self-mastery path. We might be willing, on paper it might sound amazing, read a book, and I want to join this path towards enlightenment. But are you ready? Are you ready to really dig in, commit, dedicate yourself? Not just 1 hour every few days or even 1 hour a day, but real commitment. It starts here, that understanding, awareness starts here. Am I distracted? Do I have a habit of allowing my mind to just wander wherever it wants to go? Am I clinging to worldly senses and desires? Am I running away from challenges, from feeling uncomfortable? You're going to let the left leg go, and then you're going to bring both soles of feet together, knees out wide, keeping your hips lifted up on the bolster though. If you have weight bags, feel free to bring some weight bags in wherever you'd like them to be. But see if you can just let gravity open up through the hips. There is a subtle hip flexor stretch happening. It's why we see a lot of people that jump on the bandwagon of the yoga path, and especially when we're in studio, lots of people come into the yoga practice because they want to, join this path of ultimate happiness. And we see a lot of people drop off the path. Because when it gets challenging and confronting and uncomfortable, that's when people realise that, well, they don't realise on a conscious level, but we see it, that they're just not ready. It sounds good on paper. The doctors and health advisors say, oh, go do some yoga, that'll help you immensely. And then we start to ask some of the really tough questions. Things become a little bit confronting, and so we lose our way. Self-mastery is not an easy path. It's tough. But as they say, all tough paths are worth it. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. A lot of courage, great amount of willpower, and even more honesty. Slowly lift the knees up or extend your legs out, whichever's easiest for you to come out of that hip. And then bend your knees, feet on the floor, just so you can move the bolster back to underneath your knees. And then grab one of your balls. If you don't have a myofascial release ball, I'll give you an alternative, but just hang on a moment. Just the one, slide it underneath the right lower back, the small of the back, right side. And then just let your body kind of hang over the ball, like come back over the ball. You might not feel a great deal to start. You might need to adjust it. With your legs over the ball, so left leg's going to stay as is. Bring your right leg, knee out. So sole of the foot in towards the left leg. Left leg doesn't come in, it just stays as is. But let the right knee fall out. Now, you'll start to notice some pressure where the ball is. And so if that's enough for you, then stay. We're just going to work on this one side first for a full 5 minutes, because you'll notice that we start superficially, and what happens physically also happens mentally and spiritually. We start to release the physical layers, and then it starts to get more intense when we dig deeper and dig deeper and dig deeper. And so hopefully you'll start to feel, when we move into the deeper layers, just how confronting and challenging it can get. We utilise the physical body because it's the easiest layer to work with. When we start digging deeper into the mental body, the emotional body, the energetic body and whatnot, and spiritual body, that's when it becomes very turbulent. We don't like what we dig up. So use this as the analogy first. You can hug your right knee into your chest, just like we did in our bridge, and use that right knee to just find a spot in that right side lower back. I like to take my knee out to the right so it's open slightly. Now relax the lower back. Relax the target area. If you don't have a ball and you haven't got the opportunity to do myofascial release, you're just going to take a half happy baby. So no ball, hug the knee, bring the foot to the sky and draw the knee down towards the chest. You can even hold it in both hands if that's helpful. That'll open out through this whole sort of hip joint complex. Otherwise, we're working on that right side, lower back. We're already nearly 2 minutes in, so we've got just over 3 minutes to go, 3.5 minutes. Notice the longer that you hold it there, the deeper that you dig, or the deeper the ball sinks in. Notice the change in sensations. And notice how our mind starts to label it with a like-dislike relationship. We are conditioned to experience certain sensations certain ways. We have a pleasurable and a painful experience which then we have an attachment or an aversion towards. These are all the things that we uncover on our path to self-mastery. And they're all the things that we want to liberate ourselves from for enlightenment. So regardless of what you're feeling, there's no attachment and no aversion towards it. We dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you uncover things that initially you like or you dislike. And then we transcend. And instead of creating an attachment to our likes and an aversion to our dislikes, we are equanimous, harmonious. About 1.5 minutes to go. You can move, you can stay still. If you're right on a spot, I'd say stay. If you're not feeling a great deal sensory-wise, then maybe move around a little bit and see if you can dig a bit deeper. Got 5 more breaths for this side. Having said that, if you're feeling like you need, let your body speak. So if you're feeling like you'll let your body be heard, I should say, it's constantly speaking. If you organically feel like you need some more time here, then by all means do yourself a favor and take it. Otherwise, finish off this last breath. Slowly release the leg, then release the ball. Just lay flat for a moment. We balance it out. Left side, place the ball. Hug the knee in, or actually do knee wide first. Just so you can feel a slight pressure. It just increases the pressure slightly before you start to hug the knee and really increase the pressure. I'm going to explain the relationship between what we've done to this in a minute. When you're ready, you can hug the knee in towards your chest. I do recommend exploring first until you find your spot. If you're very familiar with your sweet spots, then go straight there. So right here, we're actually massaging our sort of erector spinae muscle group, but specifically our quadratus lumborum, which actually has a direct relationship, a direct connection to our hip flexors, to our psoas iliacus and iliopsoas. So everything's connected, everything's related. Same goes when we talk about the layers of experience. You know, right now we're experiencing the physical layer and we talk about it. You know, dig a bit deeper, notice the sensations change, notice how it becomes more intense, maybe a bit more challenging. Notice how you have, you know, a pleasurable or a painful experience that turns into a like and dislike, you know. What we experience physically, same thing happens mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. It's all related, it's all connected. Use the same analogy that you might be willing to release tension in your lower back, but then you get there and it's really intense and you have this painful experience and so you run away from it. That means you're not ready. Not only do we have to be willing, but we have to be ready. We have to lay the groundwork. Be ready to experience pleasure, pain, challenge, discomfort, confrontation. Yogic tradition, it's known that the best teachers will challenge you the most. And you want to run away from them screaming, or you want to confront them back. And the teachers don't have to be a person. Teachers can be an injury. They can be this, you know, discomfort as a teacher. It can be philosophical teachings, you know, it doesn't have to be the stock standard teacher that our minds understand. The best teachers in our lives are the teachers that challenge us the most. The path of growth, the path of self-mastery, it's challenging. So those challenging teachers, they prepare us, get us ready for this path that is challenging. 5 more breaths. Slowly again, release out of it. Pop the ball off to the side, you won't need that now. Just lay flat for a moment while I give you 2 options for our next pose, which is just a stock standard caterpillar. Knees are over the bolster, so you can just sit yourself up and lay over your legs. Option 2 is a buttock konasana, a butterfly, leaning forward. So help yourself up to a seated position. Option 1, bolsters there or your props there. Fold forward, legs are where they need to be. Feel where you've just really opened up. Feel that now extend and expand. If you prefer, soles of feet together, knees wide, our butterfly, and lean forward that way, utilizing props to support head or whatever. And whichever pose you've decided to come into, see if you can send your breath really down into that lower back, because that's going to expand your diaphragm, which is also directly connected to your psoas, iliopsoas, and your quadratus lumborum, your QL. Five breaths. Slowly straighten yourself out, just so you can make your way into your final rest of Shavasana. Don't feel like your Shavasana has to be stock standard lying on your back. Choose anything that's appropriate for you. So you can even come into a child's pose or a waterfall. You can come into a neck release, an occipital release using a block or a rolled up blanket or towel. You can lay on your side, you can lay on your belly. Do whatever you need to do with as many props as you need as well. High pillows, weight bags, blankets, pillows.
Give yourself a moment here in your final rest just to notice. You are already willing. Just by being on your mat, you are willing. Notice how much more ready you are now compared to the beginning of practice. And remember, remind yourself often, self-mastery is challenging. Requires a lot of courage, inner strength, willpower, honesty. So utilize your practices to gain the readiness. Gently and slowly help yourself up to a comfortable seated position. However you need to do that, rolling over, sitting up, palms coming together at heart center for our closing on. Deep breath. Thumbs to third eye center, we bow. My soul honors your soul. When we're in that experience of spirit, together we are one. Together we say namaste. Namaste. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Have an awesome day today. Bye.
See ya.